Kicking off this list, number 6, It Chapter 1. Now this is how you do a remake. Stephen King's 2017 version of It was unquestionably the biggest success story of 2017. The movie was a world-conquering smash hit, becoming a pop culture phenomenon overnight as it blew off the doors off box office projections when it was released in the summer of 2017 by making over $700 million. You can really see why the movie received overwhelmingly positive reviews because of the charming cast of kids that gave the movie an almost John Hughes sense of warmth, and all the members of the Losers Club were all characters that I genuinely cared about and wanted to see succeed in the end, as they all had phenomenal chemistry with each other. And of course, I can't talk about this movie without talking about Bill Skarsgård's portrayal of Pennywise. Now, all the respect in the world to Tim Curry's Pennywise, but Bill Skarsgård, on the other hand, he is my Pennywise. From his first appearance to his last, his version has like a distinct array of tics and twitches. Skarsgård's Pennywise felt a lot more sinister, kind of like a vicious demon who's trying to act like a human, but is unable to hide those giveaway tics, which is good because that's exactly what it is, pun intended. Embracing the hard R rating, it wasn't afraid to put its young cast in proper peril, especially when it came to the gory violence. Even though there were a few aspects of this movie that were a little bit too overboard, but even with that, it doesn't stop it, see what I did there, from being a genuine horror blockbuster unlike anything audiences have seen in decades. At number 5, I have Carrie. Carrie is an infamous title amongst horror fans and general movie buffs alike because aside from its overt horror elements, it draws on some aspects of high school life that people find scarily relatable. With this movie being the first ever Stephen King adaptation, director Brian De Palma brought his A-game to this supernatural tale of Carrie White, a quiet, tormented teenage girl who learns that she has telekinetic powers. Carrie's story speaks in some way to a lot of people who know all too well about how horrible kids can be, her outburst being a hyperbole of the table-turning response a lot of victimized teens wish they could have enacted. The movie is best known for the famous prom scene massacre in the third act, which is a very powerful scene as it expertly comments on bullying and parental neglect. Equal parts thrilling and maddening, Carrie has rightfully earned its status amongst the horror classics for good reason. Number 4, Train to Busan. Throughout the 2010s, the genre of zombie movies had somewhat became very brainless and derivative thanks to years of oversaturation of the market. However, once I came across the South Korean movie Train to Busan, this served to be a real treat for me. Train to Busan has been one of the most acclaimed and most beloved horror films of the past decade, and it's not very hard to see why. With its grotesque practical effects, incredible acting, compelling characters, and flawless premise, it might as well be one of the best zombie movies ever made. There's such a strong emotional undercut to the film, and each character stands out as painfully human until their grisly demise. Scary, action-packed, and deeply satisfying, Train to Busan was a breath of fresh air for the rotting corpse of the undead movie genre. Number 3, Evil Dead 2. Now, I don't think this was going to be a surprise that Evil Dead 2 was on my list because y'all know I'm a huge Sam Raimi fanatic and a huge lover of the Evil Dead series. This sequel to Sam Raimi's The Evil Dead sees Bruce Campbell's Ash Williams once again at the mercy of the Book of the Dead. While the first movie was a critical success and an instant classic, Evil Dead 2 was a huge improvement over the original as nearly everything stepped up. Its special effects are more advanced, the gore is turned up all the way to 11, and Bruce Campbell's portrayal of Ash is even better than it was before, establishing the character as a horror icon and Sam Raimi as a director to watch. While some could watch Evil Dead 2 and just basically say it's a remake of the first film, it's such a great sequel that excellently recaptures the magic of its predecessor thanks to Bruce Campbell's charisma and the uproarious combination of blood and slapstick humor. For my runner-up at number 2, it's safe to say Jordan Peele blew the world away with his directorial debut Get Out back in 2017. His meteoric rise in recognition in Hollywood should come as no real surprise considering his work alongside Keegan-Michael Key on the hit TV show Key and Peele. Regarding the movie at hand, Get Out is a film that has already become a classic even with it being released 6 years ago. It's ambitious, clever, and equally eerie, leaving you sat on the edge of your seat for the most part. What makes this a fantastic atmospheric horror movie is the general sense of unease throughout. What seems like a normal getaway weekend with his girlfriend turns into a kidnapping gone wrong as Daniel Kaluuya's character Chris encounters a new kind of white slaver. The building of tension in Get Out is its greatest asset, where every moment feels like something that is not quite right. Taking inspiration from classic films like Rosemary's Baby, Get Out is a movie that excellently showcased Jordan Peele's ability to socially critique and inspire conversations about race relations will forever cement its status as a must-see film. And my number 1 favorite horror movie of all time is Scream. There's a very good reason why the original Scream is a beloved classic and also one of the most important movies in the slasher genre. Well, during the early 90s, the popularity of slasher movies was on a massive decline. Even though there were a few good ones here and there, most of them failed to create a buzz as they were mostly box office flops. However, by 1996, audiences weren't quite ready for the postmodern slasher that was Scream. With Wes Craven's clever combination of meta horror and comedy from a brilliant screenplay by Kevin Williamson proved to be a formula that would revive a large scale of interest in slasher movies. A shakeup is what the slasher genre desperately needed, and that's what Scream provided. Scream isn't just an excellent horror movie that is thoroughly entertaining from start to finish, it also has the right mix of self-deprecating humor and compulsory tension. While it follows the typical slasher genre premise, it's not as predictable as others and succeed in avoiding their cliches. It may have spawned tons of imitators of too many self-aware slashers and referential horror movies, but we all know that the original Scream is still a sincere and very likable movie with the perfect degree of a mean streak.